The exhibition hall on Valoris Prime stretched for miles. Bright lights reflected off polished metal floors as thousands of beings from across the galaxy walked between display booths. Every major civilization had sent representatives to show off their latest military technology. Energy shields hummed with power. Plasma weapons glowed in their cases. Advanced armor suits moved on their own, demonstrating artificial intelligence systems that could predict enemy attacks. Then the humans arrived. Corporal Park Ji-hyun stood nervously at the edge of the Earth delegation's booth. She was 23 years old, slim and shorter than most of the aliens around her. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun according to military regulations. She wore the standard human combat uniform underneath her demonstration armor. The armor itself looked nothing like what the other species displayed. Ambassador Lee Min-ho stood beside her, already tired even though the day had just begun. He had been explaining human military decisions for 6 months now, ever since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Every time the aliens laughed. Every single time, remember, Min-ho said quietly to Ji-hyun, "Stay calm no matter what they say. Let the armor speak for itself." Ji-hyun nodded. She looked down at what she was wearing. Thick quilted fabric covered her chest and back. Ceramic plates sat in pockets sewn into the fabric. Her arms and legs had similar padding. There were no glowing lights, no humming energy fields, no computer systems, just layers of cloth and hard plates held together with stitching. A crowd began to gather. The beings came in all shapes and sizes. Some had scales. Some had fur. Others seemed to be made of crystal or liquid metal. They all stared at Ji-hyun in her armor. Then they started laughing. A tall creature covered in red scales pushed to the front. His species was called the Draconids, and they were known as fierce warriors. "This is a joke, yes?" he said, his voice booming across the hall. "You bring fabric to a military exposition? My children wear better protection than this." The crowd laughed harder. Some beings were taking pictures. Others recorded videos to send back to their home worlds. Ji-hyun felt her face grow hot, but she kept her expression neutral like her training had taught her. Min-ho stepped forward and raised his hands for quiet. "This armor has protected human soldiers for thousands of years in various forms. It represents our approach to combat survival." A creature with 6 limbs and glowing blue patterns on her skin moved closer. Her name was Commander Vexthra, and she was one of the most respected military officers in the Krillian Empire. She walked around Ji-hyun slowly, studying the armor from every angle. "No energy signature," Vexthra said. "No shield generator. No smart materials that can repair themselves. No computer systems." She poked the quilted fabric with one of her clawed fingers. "This is just cloth." "Reinforced cloth," Min-ho corrected. "With ceramic trauma plates and multiple layers designed to—" "I have seen enough," Vexthra interrupted. She turned to address the crowd. "The humans claim this primitive covering can protect their soldiers in modern combat. I propose we test this claim. Surely Earth will not object to a simple demonstration." Min-ho closed his eyes for a moment. He had known this was coming, but he had hoped to avoid it. The problem was that refusing would make Earth look weak. Accepting might make them look foolish. But there was a third option that humanity had learned long ago: prove everyone wrong. "We accept," Min-ho said. "What did you have in mind?" Vexthra's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Nothing too dangerous. Just standard combat scenarios. We will use training weapons, of course. I would not want to injure your soldier in front of so many witnesses." The crowd murmured with excitement. This was better than any planned demonstration. They were going to watch human armor fail in real time. "The exhibition hall has combat arenas for demonstrations," Vexthra continued. "Shall we reconvene there in 1 hour? That will give everyone time to gather and place their bets." "Bets?" Min-ho asked. "Oh yes," the Draconid warrior said with a laugh. "I am betting heavily that your soldier will not last 5 minutes. Ji-hyun finally spoke. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I will last." The Draconid leaned down until his snout was inches from her face. "You are brave, little human. Brave and foolish. But I appreciate the spirit. It will make your defeat more entertaining." The crowd dispersed, chattering excitedly about what they would witness. Min-ho led Ji-hyun to a quiet corner of the Earth booth. "You do not have to do this," he said. "I can find a way to cancel—" "No," Ji-hyun interrupted. "This is why you brought me here. This is why I trained for 6 months. They need to see what our armor can do. They are going to shoot at you. I know. With weapons that can melt through starship hulls. I know. Minho studied her face. She was scared. He could see it in her eyes. But she was also determined. That was very human, he thought. Being afraid but doing the thing anyway. Your family will kill me if you get hurt, he said. Ji-hyun smiled for the first time that day. My family knows what I signed up for. And Ambassador? They believe in this armor. My grandfather wore a version of it in the resource wars. My mother wore it in the border conflicts. It kept them alive. It will keep me alive. 1 hour later, the combat arena was packed. Thousands of aliens had gathered in the circular seating that surrounded a large open floor. Holographic displays showed close-up views of the arena from multiple angles. Ji-hyun could see herself on the screens, looking small and vulnerable in her quilted armor. Across the arena stood General Thruk, a massive Krillian warrior. He was over 3 meters tall with 4 powerful arms. His natural armored plating was enhanced by a powered combat suit that glowed with energy. He carried a plasma rifle that probably cost more than everything Earth had sent to this exposition. Vexthra stood at the edge of the arena, acting as referee. The rules are simple, she announced. General Thruk will engage the human soldier using standard Krillian military weapons and tactics. The test ends when the human yields, is incapacitated, or by my judgment is in danger of serious harm. And if none of those things happen, Minho called out from the Earth delegation's viewing area. Vexithra's glowing patterns flickered with amusement. Then I suppose we will all learn something new today. Ji-hyun took her position. She carried no weapons for this test. This was purely about whether the armor could protect her. She bent her knees slightly and took a deep breath. Her instructors had drilled the next part into her brain. Do not freeze, do not panic, and above all, keep moving. Begin, Vexthra shouted. Thruk raised his plasma rifle. The crowd went silent. Ji-hyun could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. The weapon fired. A bolt of superheated plasma screamed across the arena. It hit Ji-hyun square in the chest. The impact threw her backward. She landed hard on the arena floor. Smoke rose from her armor. The crowd erupted in laughter and cheers. The Draconid warrior was already celebrating his winning bet. But then Ji-hyun moved. She rolled onto her side and pushed herself up. The quilted fabric on her chest was scorched black and one of the ceramic plates had shattered. But underneath, Ji-hyun was breathing hard and sweating, but uninjured. The laughter stopped. Ji-hyun stood up straight and faced Thruk again. Is that all? She called out. For the first time since arriving at Valoris Prime, Ambassador Lee Minho smiled. The arena stayed silent for 3 full seconds. Thousands of aliens stared at the small human standing in the center of the combat floor. Smoke still rose from her scorched armor, but she was alive and standing. That should not have been possible. General Thruk lowered his plasma rifle slowly. His 4 arms tensed with confusion. The weapon he had fired could punch through light vehicle armor. It should have at least knocked the human unconscious. Instead, she was asking if that was all. Commander Vexthra moved closer to the arena edge. Her glowing patterns pulsed faster, which meant she was thinking hard. Explain what just happened, she called out to the Earth delegation. A woman stood up from the human section. She was Dr. Choi Hana, Earth's lead materials scientist. She had been quiet until now, letting the demonstration speak for itself. But now it was time for the explanation. The plasma bolt delivered approximately 40,000 joules of energy to a concentrated point, Hana said, as she walked to the arena edge. Holographic displays appeared around her, showing detailed diagrams. Your weapons are designed to overwhelm defenses through focused energy delivery. Yes, we know how plasma weapons work, the Draconid warrior interrupted. What we do not know is how Cloth stopped it, Hana smiled. The Cloth did not stop it. That is the point. Your weapons are designed to fight shields and armor that try to block or absorb damage at a single point. Human armor works differently. She gestured and the holographic display zoomed in on Ji-hyun's chest armor. The crowd could see the multiple layers clearly now. Outer fabric, air gaps, ceramic plates, inner padding. More air gaps. Final protective layer against skin. When the plasma hit, the outer layer burned away, Hana explained. That burning actually absorbed some of the thermal energy. The air gap between layers prevented direct heat transfer. The ceramic plate shattered, which absorbed the kinetic impact and more heat. The inner padding cushioned the force that remained. And the final layer protected Corporal Ji-hyun's skin from residual heat. The armor was destroyed, Vexthra pointed out. The plate is broken. The outer layer is gone. That plate is destroyed, yes, Hana agreed. But the armor system is not. Corporal Ji-hyun can remove that broken plate and replace it with a new one in under 30 seconds. The armor is designed to be damaged. We expect it to fail. So we built it to fail safely and be quickly repaired. This caused murmuring throughout the crowd. Most species designed their armor to be as strong as possible, to resist damage completely. The idea of accepting damage as inevitable was foreign to them. Interesting theory, Vexithra said. But theory is not combat. Continue the test. General Throck increased power levels. Throck adjusted his rifle settings and fired again. This time the bolt burned even brighter. It hit Ji-hyun in the shoulder and spun her around. She fell to one knee, but again she stood up. The shoulder plate was destroyed now too, and the fabric was smoking heavily. But Ji-hyun herself was still conscious and mobile. Particle beam, Vexthra ordered. Throck switched weapons. The particle beam was designed to penetrate energy shields by using subatomic particles instead of plasma. He aimed at Ji-hyun's leg and fired. The beam hit. Ji-hyun screamed and collapsed. The crowd leaned forward eagerly. This was it. The human had finally failed. But Ji-hyun did not stay down. She grabbed the destroyed leg plate and tore it away from her armor. Then she stood up on shaking legs. The beam had burned through the plate and fabric, but it had spread out enough that her leg was burned but not destroyed. How many times must I shoot her? Throck called out. He sounded frustrated now, not amused. Until the armor fails, Vexithra replied. But her voice carried doubt now. The armor has failed, Throck insisted. Look at it. Every plate I have hit is destroyed. But the soldier still fights, Hana called out. That is what matters. Your advanced armor is one complete system. If the power fails, the whole suit stops working. If the shield generator breaks, all protection is lost. Human armor is modular, independent. Each piece can fail without affecting the others. Throck fired 3 more times in rapid succession. Chest, arm, leg. Each shot destroyed a plate and burned fabric. Each time Ji-hyun went down, and each time she got back up. The crowd was not laughing anymore. Enough, Throck shouted. He dropped his rifle and spread his forearms. This is pointless. I am shooting a target that refuses to die. Let us settle this properly. Close combat. Warrior to warrior. Vexthra considered this. Corporal Ji-hyun, do you accept? Ji-hyun was breathing hard. Most of her armor plates were destroyed. The quilted fabric was burned in a dozen places. But her eyes were clear and focused. I accept. Minho shot to his feet in the viewing area. Wait, that is not, but Ji-hyun had already moved to the center of the arena. Throck joined her there. Standing next to the massive Krillian, she looked like a child. He had forearms to her too. His natural armor was thicker than her remaining plates. His powered suit enhanced his strength to superhuman levels. This is foolish, Throck said quietly so only Ji-hyun could hear. I will try not to hurt you badly. Just fight, Ji-hyun replied. Vexthra raised one arm. Combat begins when I lower my arm. It ends when one fighter yields or cannot continue. She paused. Begin! Throck moved first. For something so large, he was terrifyingly fast. 2 arms reached for Ji-hyun to grab her. The other 2 pulled back to strike. Ji-hyun did not try to block. She could not match his strength. Instead, she dropped low and rolled to the side. Throck's grab caught empty air. She came up behind him and struck at the back of his knee joint. The crowd gasped. It was a clever move, but it could not possibly work. Throck's armor was too strong, except Ji-hyun was not trying to hurt him. She was testing his mobility, and she learned something important. His powered suit was stiff at the joints. It gave him strength but took away flexibility. Throck spun around and swung with 2 arms. Ji-hyun ducked under one and deflected the other, using his own force to throw herself backward. She landed and rolled, coming up several meters away. Stop running, Throck demanded. Stop being slow, Ji-hyun replied. This got a reaction from the crowd. Some beings hissed in approval. Others clicked or hummed their species' version of laughter. Throck charged. His forearms moved in a complex pattern designed to catch Ji-hyun no matter which way she dodged. But his powered suit required split-second calculations to move each limb. There was a tiny delay between thought and action. Ji-hyun's armor had no such delay. When she decided to move, she just moved. The quilted fabric bent with her. The remaining plates shifted naturally. There were no power systems to fail or calculate. She rolled under his charge, came up beside him, and struck at his suit's power cable. Her hand hit hard enough to hurt her knuckles, but the cable held. Throck grabbed her with two arms and lifted her off the ground. He pulled back one massive fist to strike. This was it. The fight was over. But Ji-hyun did not panic. She grabbed the arm holding her and pulled herself up and over. The movement confused Throck for just a moment. In that moment, Ji-hyun wrapped her legs around his head from behind and twisted. Throck stumbled. He was not hurt, but his balance was disrupted. He released Ji-hyun to catch himself. She landed on her feet and immediately attacked his suit's power connections again. This time she had a tool. In the chaos of being grabbed, she had pulled a broken ceramic plate from her own armor. The sharp edge was perfect for cutting. She slashed at the cable connecting his suit's power to his right arms. Sparks flew. The cable severed. Throck's right arm suddenly went dead. The powered assistance gone. Without power, the suit's weight became a burden. "You damaged my suit," Throck said in disbelief. "You destroyed my armor," Ji-hyun pointed out. Throck swung with his two working arms, but now he was off balance. The dead weight on his right side threw off his coordination. Ji-hyun dodged and struck again, this time at his left power cable. She did not cut it completely, but she damaged it enough that power flickered. Throck's left arms began responding slowly. He stumbled backward. "Yield," Ji-hyun said. She was exhausted, burned, and bruised, but she was still standing. Throck looked at his malfunctioning suit, then at Ji-hyun in her destroyed armor. Then he did something that surprised everyone. He laughed. It was a deep, booming sound that echoed through the arena. "I yield," he announced. "The little human wins?" The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Others protested. Arguments broke out across the viewing areas. But everyone had the same question. How did the dumbest armor in the galaxy just win? 6 months after the exhibition, news of the human armor demonstration had spread across the galaxy. Most species dismissed it as an interesting fluke. Advanced armor was still superior, they insisted. The humans had simply gotten lucky against one opponent, but some paid attention. They saw something that worried them. The Korvathi Empire was one of those who worried. For 300 years they had conquered world after world using the same strategy. Overwhelming firepower destroyed defensive positions. Then their elite troops, wearing the galaxy's most expensive powered armor, eliminated any survivors. It had never failed, until they heard about cloth armor that kept working after being destroyed. War Master Kryn stood in the command center of his flagship, studying reports from intelligence officers. He was a terrifying sight even by Korvathi standards. 8 limbs, each enhanced with genetic modifications, armor that cost more than a small starship, weapons integrated into his suit that could level buildings. "The humans have established a colony on Talos Station," his intelligence officer reported. "Population 8,000. Military presence minimal. Defenses standard planetary shields." "How many wear this primitive armor?" Kryn asked. "Reports suggest most of their soldiers use it, but our analysts insist it cannot withstand serious military assault." Kryn's mandibles clicked together thoughtfully. "And yet it defeated General Throck. In a demonstration, War Master. Not real combat." Kryn studied the holographic display showing Talos Station. It was a mining colony, valuable but not strategically critical. The perfect target for a test. If human armor was truly as resilient as reported, better to learn that now against a small force. If it was just propaganda, the colony would fall easily. "Prepare the fleet," Kryn ordered. "We attack in 3 days." On Talos Station, Private Kang De-hyun was having a bad day. He was 19 years old and had been in the military for exactly 4 months. This was his first deployment away from Earth. He was homesick, nervous, and starting to think he had made a terrible mistake joining the service. "Stop worrying," Sergeant Baek Yoonji said as she inspected his armor. "You checked every plate twice already. They are fine. But what if they are not fine when something happens?" De-hyun asked. Yoonji had been a soldier for 12 years. She had fought in the border conflicts and survived 3 major battles. She wore her quilted armor like a second skin, comfortable and familiar. "Then you replace them. That is what the pouches are for." She tapped the spare plates hanging from his belt. I saw the videos from Valoris Prime. Corporal Ji-hyun was so brave." "What if I am not brave like that?" Yoonji sat down beside him. "You know what Ji-hyun told me when I met her?" She said she was terrified the whole time. "Being brave does not mean not being scared. It means doing the job even though you are scared. That does not make me feel better. It is not supposed to make you feel better. It is supposed to make you ready." Warning sirens cut through the conversation. The sound was loud enough to hurt. Red lights flashed across the colony. Every soldier in the barracks jumped to their feet. "This is not a drill," the intercom announced. "Hostile fleet detected. All personnel to defensive positions. I repeat, this is not a drill." Daehyun felt his stomach drop. His hands shook as he grabbed his rifle. "Move," Yoonji shouted. She was already running for the door. Daehyun forced his legs to work and followed her. The colony's shield generators hummed to life as soldiers rushed to their positions. Daehyun found himself in a defensive bunker near the colony's western edge. Through the reinforced windows, he could see Korvathi warships descending through the atmosphere. "How many are there?" someone asked. "Too many," another soldier replied. Yoonji's voice came over the squad communication channel. "Listen up. You all know the drill. Shields will not hold forever. When they fall, stay in cover. Let them waste ammunition on the bunkers. We are dug in, and they are exposed. Understood?" A chorus of confirmations came back. Daehyun added his own voice, trying to sound confident. The Korvathi warships opened fire. Antimatter torpedoes streaked down from orbit and slammed into the colony's shields. The impacts lit up the sky like artificial suns. The shield held for the first volley, and the second, but everyone knew it could not last. "Why are they not targeting our shield generators?" Daehyun asked. A veteran soldier nearby answered. "Because they want to destroy everything. That is how Korvathi fight. Total destruction, then troops move in to confirm the kill. They are not trying to capture the colony. They are trying to erase it." The shields failed on the seventh volley. Korvathi ships immediately switched to orbital bombardment. Explosions tore through the colony. Buildings collapsed. Streets cracked and buckled. Fire spread across entire blocks. The bunker Daehyun was in took a direct hit. The ceiling came down. Daehyun felt himself thrown sideways. Pain exploded through his body. Dust and smoke filled his lungs. When the shaking stopped, Daehyun could not see anything. He was buried under rubble. His whole body hurt. He tried to move and found he could. His legs worked. His arms worked. He was alive. He pushed debris off himself and climbed toward daylight. When he emerged from the collapsed bunker, he could not believe what he saw. The colony was destroyed. Fires burned everywhere. Buildings were reduced to rubble. It looked like the end of the world, but soldiers were still moving through the ruins. Daehyun looked down at himself. His armor was covered in dust and one of his chest plates was cracked. But the quilted fabric had absorbed the shockwave from the bombardment. He was bruised and shaken but not seriously injured. "Daehyun," Eunji's voice called from somewhere in the smoke. "Sound off." "Here, Sergeant." Daehyun called back. Other voices responded. Not everyone had survived, but more than Daehyun expected. The bombardment that should have killed everyone had instead left dozens of soldiers combat effective. "Korvathi troops are landing," Yoonji announced. "They think we are all dead. Let us surprise them. Remember your training. Stay mobile. Use the rubble for cover. They are wearing powered armor, which means they are strong but slow in tight spaces." Daehyun found his rifle in the rubble. It still worked. He checked his armor plates. 2 were cracked but still functional. He pulled them out and replaced them with spares from his pouches. 30 seconds, just like training. The first Korvathi troops entered the ruined colony center. They moved in formation, weapons ready, expecting no resistance. They were hunting for survivors to eliminate. Instead, they walked into an ambush. Yoonji gave the signal and human soldiers opened fire from collapsed buildings, crater edges, and rubble piles. The Korvathi responded with overwhelming force, their shoulder-mounted cannons destroying entire structures. But the humans were not in those structures anymore. They had fired and moved. Their light armor let them scramble through tight spaces and squeeze into gaps that the Korvathi's powered armor could not reach. Daehyun found himself in a running firefight through the colony's destroyed streets. A Korvathi trooper spotted him and fired. The plasma bolt hit Daehyun's chest and threw him backward. His plate shattered and the fabric burned. But Daehyun rolled with the impact, tore away the destroyed plate and scrambled into a collapsed building before the trooper could fire again. His chest hurt badly. The fabric had burns, but he was still alive and still fighting. He reloaded his rifle and waited. The Korvathi trooper came around the corner, confident. Daehyun shot him 3 times in the leg joints where armor was thinnest. The trooper stumbled. Daehyun shot him twice more in the neck seal. The trooper went down. Daehyun stared at what he had done. He had just killed someone. The realization made him want to vomit. "Keep moving. Yunji shouted from somewhere nearby. Do not stop. Daehyun forced himself to stand and run. His training took over. Think later. Survive now. The battle raged for 3 hours. The Korvathi had superior firepower and numbers, but they had expected to fight scattered survivors in the open. Instead, they faced organized resistance in urban terrain that negated their advantages. War Master Kryn himself descended to the surface to understand what was happening. He watched his troops struggle to advance through the ruins. Powered armor that could break through walls got stuck in narrow passages. Cooling systems designed for open combat clogged with dust and debris. And everywhere, human soldiers wearing quilted fabric kept fighting. One of his officers approached. War Master, we have eliminated the colony's infrastructure as planned, but enemy forces remain combat effective. They are using guerrilla tactics, I can see that, Kryn replied coldly. He watched a human soldier get hit by a plasma bolt, fall, tear away the damaged armor section, and continue fighting. The soldier's armor looked like it had been through a shredder, but it kept doing its job. Do we continue the assault? The officer asked. Kryn's mandibles clicked in frustration. The colony was destroyed. The mission objective was technically complete. But Korvathi doctrine required eliminating enemy forces. As long as humans could fight, the battle was not won, and his troops were taking casualties. Not many, but more than expected. More than acceptable for what should have been a simple mopping-up operation. Begin withdrawal, Kryn ordered. War Master, you heard me. Pull our troops back to the ships. 2 years after the Battle of Talos Station, everything had changed. The human demonstration at Valoris Prime had been interesting. The survival at Talos had been impressive, but it took time for the galaxy to truly understand what those events meant. Captain Yang Jisoo stood in a briefing room on Earth, looking at holographic displays showing military data from across known space. She had commanded special operations for 5 years now, and she had never seen intelligence reports like these. 17 species have requested human armor training, her aide reported. 23 more want to purchase our designs, and 41 have begun developing their own versions. What about the major powers? Jisoo asked. The ones who laughed at us? The Draconids are still resistant. They claim their scale armor is superior. The Krillians are conducting tests but have not committed, however. The aide paused. The Valdari Consortium has placed an order for 50,000 armor sets. Jisoo whistled softly. The Valdari were one of the richest civilizations in the galaxy. If they were buying human armor, others would follow. There is more, Captain. The Galactic Defense Summit is convening in 2 weeks. Earth has been invited as a full participant. They want to discuss integrating human armor philosophy into galactic defense standards. For a moment, Jisoo just stared. 3 years ago, the galaxy had laughed at cloth armor. Now they wanted to make it standard. She did not know whether to feel proud or concerned. I assume I am going to this summit, she asked. You and Admiral Song Hiram will lead the delegation. The summit took place on a neutral world called Harmony Station. It was a massive orbital platform where galactic politics happened. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in a great hall that could hold tens of thousands. Admiral Song Hiram was 60 years old and had been in the military longer than Jisoo had been alive. She was sharp, political, and had a talent for making allies out of former enemies. She was exactly who Earth needed at this summit. Remember, Hiram told the Earth delegation as they prepared to enter the hall, we are not here to gloat. Half the species here still think our armor is primitive. The other half think we are hiding some secret technology. Our job is to be helpful, not smug. Jisoo nodded. With her was a small team including Engineer Park Suman, who happened to be Corporal Jihyun's younger sister. Suman was brilliant with materials and had been leading the next generation of armor development. The summit began with formal speeches. Then came the real work. Earth's delegation presented their proposal. Integrate layered defense philosophy with existing galactic technology. Not to replace advanced systems, but to provide redundancy. Think of it like a ship, Hiram explained to the assembled representatives. You have primary systems, backup systems, and emergency systems. Why should armor be different? Your energy shields are excellent as a primary defense, but if they fail, you should have something else. Something simple that does not require power or computers. Our shields do not fail, a Draconid commander insisted. Everything fails eventually, Jisoo replied. The question is what happens when it does. Ambassador Thoraxis stood up. He was a crystalline being who had initially been one of humanity's biggest critics, but after studying the Talos Station battle reports, he had changed his mind. I have reviewed the tactical data. The humans are correct. We have built our defenses to be impenetrable, which means we have no plan for when they are penetrated. The humans accept that damage will occur and plan accordingly. We should not have to plan for failure, the Draconid insisted. Then you have never truly fought, a new voice said. Everyone turned. War Master Kryn had entered the hall. The massive Korvathi warrior still wore his powered armor, but something about him seemed different. Humbled, perhaps. I fought the humans at Talos Station, Kryn continued. My forces had superior numbers, superior firepower, and superior technology. We destroyed their colony. We should have won. He paused. But we did not. Because while we relied on our technology being perfect, they had prepared for their technology to fail. When our advantages proved insufficient, we had no backup plan. They did, the hall went quiet. A Korvathi war master admitting defeat was unprecedented. I propose we adopt their methods, Kryn said. Not because their armor is better than ours, but because their philosophy is sound. Prepare for the best, but plan for the worst. Before anyone could respond, alarms started blaring. The kind of alarms that meant something very bad was happening. Attention all personnel, the station's AI announced. Unknown hostile forces detected. Multiple breaches in outer sectors. This is not a drill. The Great Hall erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions. Guards rushed to positions. Display screens showed security footage of the attacks. The attackers were like nothing anyone had seen before. They moved wrong, as if physics did not quite apply to them. Extragalactic raiders, someone identified them, from beyond our galaxy. Their technology is completely foreign. Jisoo watched the screens. The raiders used weapons that made shields flicker randomly, as if the shields could not decide whether an attack was happening or not. Armor seemed to phase in and out of existence, as if it was not sure where it should be. All delegates to secure locations, the station commander ordered. Security forces will handle the threat. But the security forces were failing. Their energy shields flickered uselessly. Their advanced armor phased out at critical moments. The raiders' weapons operated on principles the galaxy did not understand. We need to help, Jisoo said to Hiram. We are not security personnel. No, but we are soldiers. And we are wearing armor that does not care about weird physics. Hiram looked down at her own quilted armor vest, worn under her formal uniform. You are right. Let us go. The Earth delegation, along with a few adventurous aliens who wanted to help, moved toward the attack zones. Jisoo quickly organized them into squads. Most alien delegates were not wearing armor of any kind, just formal clothing. But some Krillian guards and a few others had light protection. Listen, Jisoo said. These raiders use technology we do not understand. But they still have bodies. They still take up space. That means we can fight them. Stay together. Watch your angles and remember that you do not need to understand how a weapon works to avoid it. They moved through the station's corridors. The raiders had spread out, moving toward critical systems. Most station personnel were fleeing, but some guards fought back with little effect. The first raider Jisoo encountered was fighting 3 station security officers. Their particle weapons passed through the raider as if it was not there. Then the raider's weapon fired and the officer's armor just disappeared. The officers fell, dead. Jisoo did not understand what she was seeing, but she understood violence. She aimed her rifle and fired a 3-round burst. The bullets hit the raider and it stumbled. Blood that was the wrong color sprayed from the wounds. It bleeds, one of the Krillian guards shouted. The humans heard it. The raider turned toward them and fired its weapon. The beam hit Jisoo's chest. She felt her armor plates vibrate strangely, as if they were trying to phase out of existence. But the ceramic plates were just compressed earth materials. They did not care about quantum uncertainty. They just cracked and absorbed energy like they always did. Jisoo fell back from the impact. Her chest plate was destroyed, but she was alive. She tore the broken plate away and fired again. This time the raider went down. The human armor works, someone shouted over the communication channels. It is not affected by their weapons. That was not entirely true. The raider's weapons still hurt, but they hurt in ways that made sense. Burns, impacts, cuts. Things that could be endured and fought through. More Earth delegation members engaged raiders throughout the station. Private Kang Daehyun, who had survived Talos Station and was now a seasoned corporal, found himself protecting a group of Korvathi delegates, including War Master Kryn. A raider cornered them in a junction. Daehyun stepped forward, his rifle ready. The raider fired, and Daehyun's shoulder plate shattered. The force threw him against a wall. But he got up, pulled a spare plate from his pouch, and replaced the broken one in 30 seconds. The raider seemed confused by this. It fired again. Daehyun rolled aside and shot back. His bullets found their mark. The raider fell. Kryn stared at the young human. "How?" he asked. "My powered armor failed completely against their weapons." "Your cloth should have been useless," Daehyun smiled through the pain. "It is just cloth, War Master. It does not need to be smart. It just needs to work." The battle lasted 3 hours. Station security eventually adapted their tactics and drove the raiders back, but it was the human delegation and those wearing human-style armor who held the critical positions. When it was over, 30 raiders lay dead. Station casualties were high among those wearing advanced armor. But soldiers in quilted protection had survived at much higher rates. The summit reconvened the next day. No one said anything at first. Then the Draconid commander who had insisted their armor was superior stood up. "I was wrong," he said simply. "I request that Earth send trainers to teach us their methods." One by one, other species made similar requests. Even the Valdari, who already had human armor on order, asked for tactical training. 1 year after the extragalactic raid, the galaxy looked different. Not physically, but in how it thought about warfare and survival. The change started small, with a few species adopting layered armor systems. Then it grew. Now walking through any military installation in the galaxy, you could see soldiers wearing quilted fabric alongside their advanced technology. Lieutenant Park Ji-hyun stood in a training facility on Harmony Station, watching a mixed-species unit run combat drills. Draconids wore modified armor with ceramic trauma plates over their natural scales. Krillians had added fabric layers to their powered suits. Even the Valdari, who had never worn physical armor before, now trained with protective gear. "It feels strange seeing everyone copy what we do," said Engineer Park Suman, who stood beside her sister. "They are not copying," Ji-hyun replied. "They are adapting. That is the point." Suman had spent the last year working with alien engineers to create hybrid designs, armor that combined human simplicity with alien innovation. Some species needed cooling systems for their biology, so they added them in modular ways that could fail without taking down the whole system. Others needed protection from radiation or toxic atmospheres, so they integrated filters that could be quickly replaced. The result was armor that looked different for each species, but followed the same philosophy. Accept that damage will happen. Plan for systems to fail. Make everything easy to repair. The Galactic Defense Initiative wants to make this the official standard, Suman said. Every military and member species will be required to have redundant low-tech systems. Ji-hyun smiled. 3 years ago they laughed at us. Now we are writing their regulations. How does it feel being famous? Uncomfortable. I just did my job. Your job involved getting shot repeatedly while wearing cloth and not dying. That made an impression. The training exercise ended and the mixed unit gathered for debriefing. Ji-hyun led the session, pointing out what they did well and what needed improvement. The aliens listened respectfully. Some had been skeptical at first, but field testing had convinced them human methods worked. After the session, a Krillian soldier approached Ji-hyun. "Lieutenant, I have a question. When you fought General Throck, were you scared?" "The whole time, but you did not show it. That is training. Fear is normal. Letting fear control you is the problem." The soldier nodded and walked away, seeming satisfied. Ji-hyun watched them go and wondered how her life had led to this. 2 years ago, she was a nervous corporal. Now she was training elite warriors from across the galaxy. In another part of the station, Admiral Song Hyera met with galactic military leadership. The topic was integration of human tactical doctrine into standard operations. "We are not suggesting you abandon your technology," Hiram explained for what felt like the 100th time. "We are suggesting you prepare for when your technology fails." "But that is negative thinking," a Valdari commander argued. "It assumes defeat. It assumes reality," Captain Yang Jisoo replied. She was attending the meeting as Earth's tactical advisor. "In perfect conditions, your advanced armor is better than ours. But war never happens in perfect conditions. Equipment breaks. Power fails. Computer systems crash. What then?" "Then we repair and continue," the Valdari said. "What if you cannot repair? What if the battle is happening now and you do not have time to fix your shield generator? The room went quiet. This was the uncomfortable truth that most species avoided thinking about. They had built their militaries around advanced technology working perfectly. The idea that it might not was disturbing. War Master Kryn broke the silence. The captain is correct. At Talos Station, my troops could not advance through rubble because our powered armor was too bulky. Our cooling systems failed because they were not designed for dusty environments. Our integrated systems meant that when one component took damage, multiple functions degraded. He looked around the room. The humans survived because they had planned for exactly those failures. We must do the same. You are suggesting we design equipment expecting it to fail? Another commander asked. I am suggesting we design equipment that still functions when components fail. That is not the same thing. Ambassador Thoraxis stood to speak. The crystalline being had become one of humanity's strongest advocates. I have studied military history from 100 civilizations. Do you know what the most successful armies had in common? Not the best technology, not the strongest warriors, but the ability to adapt when plans failed. The humans embody this principle. Their armor is merely one example. The debate continued for hours. Eventually, a compromise was reached. The Galactic Defense Initiative would publish new standards requiring all military equipment to have manual backup systems, modular design for easy field repair, and reduced dependence on centralized computer control. It was not everything the humans wanted, but it was a start. As the meeting ended, Thoraxis approached Hyerim privately. There is resistance you should know about. Some species feel that adopting human methods diminishes their own martial traditions. They see it as admitting weakness. What species specifically? The Draconids are split. Their older warriors resist change. The younger generation wants to modernize. There may be internal conflict. Hyerim sighed. Politics never ended, even with obvious improvements. We will handle it. Thank you for the warning. Several months later, the Draconid resistance came to a head. A group of traditional warriors challenged the new armor standards, claiming they weakened Draconid military honor. They demanded a demonstration that combined armor testing with traditional Draconid combat trials. The challenge was issued to Earth's military. If human methods could defeat Draconid warriors wearing traditional armor in traditional combat, they would accept the changes. If not, they would lobby to have the new standards revoked. Hyerim did not like it. The whole thing felt like a political trap. But refusing would make Earth look weak. Accepting might make them look arrogant. She chose to accept. The demonstration took place on the Draconid homeworld, in an ancient arena that had hosted warrior trials for thousands of years. Tens of thousands of Draconids filled the seats. Holographic cameras transmitted the event across the galaxy. Corporal Kang Daehyun was selected to represent Earth. He had survived Talos Station and the extra-galactic raid. He was experienced, skilled, and calm under pressure. He was also terrified. You do not have to do this, Captain Jusu told him before the trial. Someone does, Daehyun replied. He checked his armor one more time. Standard quilted fabric with ceramic plates. Nothing fancy, nothing special. Just the armor that had kept him alive through 2 major battles. His opponent was a Draconid champion named Vraxis, wearing traditional scale armor that had been in his family for generations. The armor was beautiful, with scales that shimmered in the light. It provided excellent protection and moved naturally with Draconid physiology. By every measure except human philosophy, it was superior armor. The trial began with ranged combat. Vraxis fired a plasma weapon. Daehyun dodged behind cover. The bolt hit his position and destroyed part of the arena wall. Daehyun returned fire, hitting Vraxis in the shoulder. The scale armor held, deflecting the bullet. They traded shots for several minutes. Daehyun's armor plates broke one by one. Vraxis's scales held firm. The crowd began to cheer, sensing victory for their champion. But Daehyun was not trying to win the ranged phase. He was using it to move closer. Each time he changed positions, he advanced. Each time he replaced a broken plate, he studied Vraxis's movements. When they closed to melee range, everything changed. Vraxis was strong and his scales were tough. But scale armor, however beautiful, had gaps at the joints. It had to, or movement would be impossible. Daehyun did not try to break through the scales. He targeted the gaps. A strike to the elbow joint. A hit to the knee. Each attack found exposed areas where flexibility required openings. Vraxis roared and swung with tremendous force. His claws caught Daehyun's side and tore through fabric and plate. Daehyun fell and blood ran from the wound. The crowd cheered louder, but Daehyun rolled, pulling the destroyed armor section away. He was wounded but mobile. Vraxis charged to finish him. Daehyun waited until the last moment, then dodged aside. Vraxis's momentum carried him past. Daehyun struck at the back of his knee, right where scales could not cover because the joint needed to bend. Vraxis stumbled. Daehyun followed up with strikes to other joint gaps. None were devastating blows, but they accumulated. Vraxis was strong, but his armor, designed to protect vital areas, left necessary vulnerabilities. The fight lasted 20 minutes. Both warriors were exhausted and bleeding. Daehyun's armor was shredded. Vraxis's beautiful scales were dented and cracked, but Daehyun was still mobile while Vraxis struggled to move on his damaged leg. "Yield," Daehyun said quietly. Vraxis looked at the young human, then at his own armor, which had failed to protect the very joints that needed protection most, then at Daehyun's destroyed quilted fabric, which had allowed him to keep fighting despite taking terrible damage. "I yield," Vraxis said. The arena fell silent. Later, in the medical bay where both warriors received treatment, Vraxis asked the question everyone wanted answered. "How did you win?" "My armor is stronger. My people are warriors born. You are just a young soldier.